Back in today with a full day of eating and training to get shredded. The goal over the next 7 weeks is to get to 7% body fat for a photo shoot. Now, starting weight is 91.5 this morning, and we're gonna need to be coming in at about 83 to 84, and we're gonna document everything that I'm doing so you can replicate that within your own training and physique development. So plan for today, we're gonna go down and get a coffee and a ginger shot now. We're then gonna have our pre-workout meal. We're then gonna train, we're gonna do cardio, we've got to get steps in. We've got some work to do today, and then we're gonna get the rest of the meals done. We've just done the marathon last week. I haven't documented too much on YouTube. I document a lot of my marathon training on Instagram, but we've got 3 hours and 49 minutes. I weighed in at 93 kilos before that, so there's a lot of weight to carry around that marathon. It was just a slog, just getting the job done and not quitting, but I was happy with that. But it feels good to be back in physique development mode now. With all of that running, the amount of food that had to go in, we had to relax a little bit with weight training to manage fatigue. I feel flat, I feel soft. I do not like how I'm looking at the minute. So I'm excited just to go full physique mode now and get that shape back to that level that I had pre-marathon training. We're in my happy place now. Cafe just down below the apartment. We've got a double espresso, we've got a ginger shot. For me, one of the most important parts of the day is the morning. It's how you start your day. If you start your day with negative energy, a lazy mindset, just chasing comfort, the rest of the day is going to follow suit. Coming out here just allows me, when there's not a big tractor coming behind, it allows me to think peacefully, a little bit, be creative, plan the day. Double espresso makes me feel energized. Ginger shot, I don't know why, I just love a ginger shot in the morning. Always start the day, morning coffee, do a little bit of journaling, practice a little bit of gratitude, get my brain operating on a positive frequency, train again with movement, starting the day with wins, starting the day with something hard, and then we go and get into work on the back end of that. We're going to enjoy this coffee, and then we're going to nail a big push session today. Meal one, pre-workout meal. We've got 3 eggs, 40 grams of cheese, 100 grams of baked beans. Not your stereotypical pre-workout. I don't personally want to have a big high carb meal early on in the day. It just makes me feel sluggish. This makes me feel good. It makes me feel energized, and I'm going to train well on the back of it. But macros for the meal, we've got 450 calories, 32 grams of protein, 15 grams of carbs, and 30 grams of fats. Another thing for me is enjoyment. Everything that I eat, I will enjoy. Just getting a good balance of good quality protein, good quality carbs, good quality fats, convenient with my schedule so I can sustain it. And also I enjoy everything that I eat. Locker gym today, we're training push. So chest, shoulders, triceps. We've got a Ghost going in for pre-workout fuel. Don't normally have one of these, but it's a Saturday today, so treating myself. But big focus now, we're back in bodybuilding mode. Precision, accuracy, high intensity within our training. If we're driving an aggressive deficit, intensity needs to be through the roof. I think the biggest mistake people make is they turn up to the gym but they don't get any results because there's no intent within their training. So I'm gonna break down in today's session everything that I'm doing to make sure that when I cut, I retain all my muscle. So first movement of the day, we're gonna start with a pec deck. I always like to start with an isolation movement just to get blood flow into muscle and also just to minimize the risk of injury. If I go straight into my big compound movements, often or not, I was getting shoulder injuries. Since training like this, touch wood, I very rarely get shoulder injuries. So we're gonna do a couple of warm-up sets, get blood flow into muscle, make sure we're ready to start lifting heavy. We're then gonna get into 3 working sets, and then we're gonna move on to compound movements. We're gonna get into our first working set of the day. Key focuses here is optimizing tension on the chest. So we're gonna have our shoulders retracted, we're gonna keep our chest elevated. We're gonna focus on driving our elbows across the chest rather than just bringing our hands together to make sure that we're fully contracting the chest and getting it in the fully shortened range. And then we combine that high intensity push into failure. That's 3 sets of cable flies, 2 sets of 8 to 12, 1 set of 15 reps. We're now moving on to the bigger compound movements where we're just gonna work with top sets and back of sets, just so we're not generating too much fatigue. Rather than having a ridiculous amount of volume, we want effective work. So my philosophy here is if I'm doing one heavy set, the next set after that, am I going to be able to match that or beat that? Realistically, no. So we're just going to do one top set, 8 to 12, and then focus on a back off set where we're going to drop the weight down, increase the reps. Good tool firstly if we're getting more volume in the plan. Also allows you to get stronger across multiple rep ranges, which could have potential hypertrophy benefits. So we're going to move on to incline press now. So as you can see there, my focus in my training is getting so much accuracy in those reps. Time under tension on that eccentric, 1 second pause to take the momentum out, optimize tension in the lengthen range, and then getting a 1 second contraction in the concentric, making every rep as hard as possible. When you're accurate with your training, combine that with high intensity, that's when you're going to really start to build a lot of muscle. Chest done, we're moving on to shoulders now. Again, we're going to start with an isolation movement. So we're going to do 3 sets of dumbbell lateral raises. We're then going to go into our heavy pressing movements. Key teaching points there. A lot of people, they don't even put tension on their side delt. They drive up from their hand. So their elbow will be down here, the hand will be up there. There's no tension on the side delt. You need to think about pulling up from your elbow. So your elbow should always be on top of your hand. And then when you get to the top of the movement, your elbow should be parallel with your delt, and it should just run through straight to your hand. By doing that, you're driving up from the side delt, you're fully lengthening it and then fully shortening it. But by driving up from your hand, there's no actual tension on the side delt. Another key teaching point is don't let your hand come in past your hip, because you swing with momentum. Again, there's no tension there, and then tension takes over, but there's so much momentum driving that. So bring your hand just outside your hip, it keeps tension, and then drive up. I like to get a split second pause, take the momentum out, and then drive. So again, accuracy, combine that with training to failure. Now we're gonna finish with the last compound movement of the day, and then after this we're gonna top out with triceps. So here we're gonna do again 2 sets. 1 top set, 8 to 12 reps, 1 back off set, 13 to 15 reps. So again, key focus, perfect technique, pushing all the way through to failure. A big mistake I see people make with their shoulder pressing movements is they're not getting long enough. They'll bring the bar down in line with their nose or their ears. They're not lengthening the delts out. I always like to bring the bar to the bottom of my chin, but you don't need to bring it down to your chest. That's an unnatural position. You're going to lose a lot of strength. There's no extra tension. But bring the bar all the way down in line with your chin. Take the momentum out, split second pause. Drive all the way through, fully shorten. Good tempo, full range of motion. And also alignment. A lot of people will come too narrow. You end up doing a lot of that with your triceps. So you want your hands to come just outside of shoulder width. And again, you don't want to go too wide, because again, it's not directly in line with your shoulders, that line of force, and you're also going to lose a lot of power. It's training done. Best part of the session now is post-workout. So we've got a blueberry muffin. We've then got a protein shake with whey protein, banana, oats, and almond milk. Protein digests quite quickly. Muffin digest quite quickly. Both taste nice. I enjoy it, I can sustain it, and it's good for progression. So we're going to enjoy this, and then we're going to go into some low intensity steady state cardio. So cardio wise, starting setup, low intensity steady state only. So like when I do the running, it's not to drop body fat. In my opinion, running's not the greatest for fat loss. Depending on the type of running, extra long distance, so much fatigue, elevation of cortisol, it starts to actually impact fat loss. And when you have to fuel the runs, you end up not even being in a negative energy balance. So for me, it's always low intensity, steady state when I'm focusing on physique development. So incline walk, Stairmaster, cross trainer, or cycling. I like to get my heart rate between 130, maximum 150 beats per minute. We're gonna start, I wanna go aggressive here. I wanna get shredded quickly. Not everyone can do that, but it depends how much body fat you've got to bring off. If there's not much, you can go aggressive because you're not in a fat loss phase for long. If you've got a lot of body fat, you're gonna have to go a bit slower. So I'm gonna start doing 45 minutes times 7 days a week, just because, as I said, it's not a long period of time. I can manage stress, I can manage fatigue, I can manage performance levels, and I wanna get the conditioning. Typically, the guys that I work with will start with a higher body fat percentage. So I'll typically start them on like 20 minutes times 5, and then slowly progress as the weeks go on. Yeah, let's get this done. 45 minutes, low intensity, steady state, good for fat burning. So meal 3 of the day going in now. If I'm in prep, I just want to keep it simple. I'm not gonna overly complicate meals. I want foods that are gonna taste nice. Good quality protein, good quality fats, good quality carbs. Here we've got 200 grams of chicken flavored with some jerk seasoning. We've got 100 grams of sweet potato. We've got 100 grams of white rice. For me, this just ticks all the boxes. I'm gonna try and keep fats fairly low now. So we've had the omelette, which was high in fat. We've had the muffin, which was high in fat. I like to hit a baseline amount of healthy fats just for cognitive functions, also important for hormones. We then keep protein in at a baseline level. I always try and have 2.5 grams of protein per kilo of scale weight. And the goal is to get as many carbohydrates in. A lot of people think, right, fat loss, you need to neglect carbs. Carbs, glycogen, main source of energy, is gonna drive performance levels. So if you're neglecting that, you're gonna be low on energy levels, you're not gonna train, you're gonna go flat, you're probably gonna start to lose muscle. So carbs are actually very important. So it's getting that balance. Baseline fats, you don't want to overdo it, you don't want to neglect fats. Again, baseline protein, you don't need too much because your body's just not going to utilize it. And then again, you want to make sure you're optimizing carbohydrates in that. This is meal 3 of the day going in. We're then going to do some work, and then we're going to have one more meal on the back end of that. Final meal of the day, very similar to the last meal. As I said, I just want to keep it simple. I'm very much a creature of habit. I'll just rinse and repeat something, get bored of it, find something else, and then rinse and repeat that and just change it every time I get bored. But again, we've got a very similar meal, just a different seasoning on the chicken. 200 grams of chicken, 100 grams of rice, 100 grams of sweet potato, exactly the same macros as the last meal. So, total daily intake is 2,350 calories. We've got 225 grams of protein, so 2.5 grams per kilo of scale weight to make sure that we are retaining muscle, so we've got high protein intake. 250 grams of carbs to make sure we're not neglecting performance levels, and then 50 grams of fats at a baseline to maintain cognitive function and also hormonal balance. For me, what I need to understand is what is my maintenance calories. So movement wise, we're lifting weights 5 days a week. We're doing low intensity steady state cardio 7 days a week, 45 minutes for the minute to start. We're also hitting 10,000 steps. At 91 kg, my maintenance calories right now is roughly 3,350 calories. Total daily intake is 2,350, so we're driving a 1,000 calorie deficit over 7 days. We're gonna drop a kilo of body fat a week. In terms of actual scale weight, it's gonna reflect more than that because I'm gonna be dropping a lot of water. Of this 91, I've gained probably about 4 kilos quite quickly, so I'm holding a lot of water on soft. For me, I just wanna get shredded quickly. But if you're someone who's like 20 to 25% or more body fat, even lower than that, even 18%, if you go this aggressive, you're gonna burn out, hormones are gonna adapt, metabolism's gonna adapt, performance recovery is gonna drop off, you're not gonna be able to sustain it for long enough to get lean enough. So it's always person dependent. What works for me might not work for you. But this is the current start. We're 7 weeks out, we've got a photo shoot locked in. I wanna get shredded inside out and set new levels with my physique, so I'm excited for the journey. Full physique development, Ollie back in the game post-marathon, and I can't wait for it. So I'll see you guys in the next episode with an update of how progress is looking and how I'm adapting my plans to keep progress moving.